Welcome to Motoring Today's annual year-end special on the year that was in motoring. I am Ray Louie Gamboa.
And I'm Tin Gamboa. 2023 was the first full year of what we called the new normal. The economy can be said to have fully opened. No more restrictions on going to malls, shops, cinemas, arenas, or churches, or traveling to the provinces. Work from home is no longer the norm. People were going back to the office. Schools transitioned back to face-to-face classes.
So how did this all affect motorists, commuters, and pedestrians, and what problems surfaced or were exacerbated? How was this solved or mitigated? Please stay with us as this special edition of The Year That Was in Motoring reviews month by month and quarter by quarter the events, happenings, issues that affect motorists, commuters, pedestrians, transport operators. Welcome back to our year-end special on the year that was in motoring.
The year 2023 started inauspiciously with sad or confusing news for commuters who have benefited from Libreng Sakay program in the previous year. Senator Sonny Angara issued a year-end press statement stating that commuters will continue to benefit from the Libreng Sakay program in 2023. Congress had allocated 2.16 billion pesos for the service contracting program in the 2023 General Appropriations Act, expecting this to be used to continue the Libreng Sakay program on the EDSA carousel and some routes covered by the SCP. But Department of Transportation Secretary Jaime Bautista also issued a press statement reminding commuters heading into the new year that free rides on the EDSA carousel ends on the last day of 2022. Amid these contradictory releases from the government, the LTFRB assured commuters that free rides on the EDSA carousel and other routes would be resumed if not in the first quarter or second quarter of the year. While airing proposals to privatize operations of the EDSA busway, Transportation Secretary Bautista announced the opening of another EDSA carousel station. The Tramo station is the fourth EDSA busway station opened after the new administration of President Bongbong Marcos assumed office. Bautista said the DOTR will continue to improve the EDSA busway operations even as the government pursues plans to privatize its management and operations. The Metro Manila Subway project continued to be a priority for the administration, with Transportation Secretary Bautista assuring the public that more contract packages for the project would be awarded this year. Bautista said the Marcos administration is targeting the completion of the country's first ever subway system by 2028. Earlier, Transportation Undersecretary for Railways Cesar Chavez asserted that contracts 105, 108, and 109 would be awarded and signed by the first and second quarters of 2023. San Miguel Holding Corporation has proposed to build the Cavite-Batangas Expressway or CBEX, a 27.06-kilometer toll road in partnership with the provincial government of Cavite. However, another group reportedly purchased bid documents to probably challenge the SMC's unsolicited proposal. As original proponent for the CBEX project, SMC will have the right to match the bid of any challenger. But come deadline time, no one came out to present a counter-proposal. Tunneling work for the Metro Manila Subway project started after a contract was awarded for the construction of the depot in Valenzuela City and stations on Quirino Highway, Tandang Sora, and North Avenue. Boring the tunnels connecting the depot and 3 stations will use 6 tunnel boring machines. Transportation Secretary Bautista said the start of tunneling work signifies a point of no return for the project to build the country's first subway system. The DOTR announced plans to start new negotiations with China for funding of railway projects, including the 142 billion rail line linking Metro Manila with Southern Tagalog and Bicol region. At the end of 2022, the DOF, under then Finance Secretary Carlos Dominguez, withdrew a financing request with China to fund 3 rail lines, including PNR Bicol Package 1, raising concerns that projects would be derailed. NLEX Corporation acquired electric vehicles to be used for its mobile patrol units at the North Luzon and South Luzon expressways. NLEX said this is aimed at reducing the carbon footprint of its operations as part of its contribution to sustainable development. At the same time, NLEX continues initiatives to harness solar power at select toll plazas in 2023. The Department of Transportation revealed that the scheduled completion of the Philippine National Railways Clark Phase 2 project has been postponed for at least 1 year, from June 2024 to June 2025. The delay was attributed to the late turnover of the 36-hectare site for the Clark Depot of the North-South Commuter Railway to project contractor POSCO Engineering and Construction. The dream of a single ticketing system in Metro Manila moves closer to reality. Mayors have reportedly approved the final draft of the Metro Manila Traffic Code that proposes a single ticketing system for the National Capital Region. The Metro Manila Traffic Code includes setting uniform penalties for the 20 most common traffic violations. A single traffic ticketing system will still need traffic management departments of LGUs to integrate data systems with the Land Transportation Management System of the Land Transportation Office. The Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board extended the validity of franchises of jeepneys more than 15 years old. The franchises were supposed to expire by end of April in Metro Manila and March in the rest of the nation. The LTFRB said it feared a transport shortage and that it wanted to give jeepney operators more time to form cooperatives and take advantage of incentives and funding to modernize their operation. The DOTR aired plans to hire a consultant to conduct a feasibility study for privatizing the EDSA busway. The study helped DOTR decide on whether the bus operations and station development of the infrastructure would be packaged as one for privatization. Transportation Chairman Bautista reportedly wants to complete the privatization of the 551 million peso EDSA busway within the year, admitting the government lacks the budget to maintain and upgrade the infrastructure. Metro Pacific Tollways Corporation detailed 2023 initiatives to innovate new products, apps, and services while expanding its network of expressways. South of Metro Manila, the Cavitex and Calax are adding more links, helping to decongest traffic in the southern portion of the metro. Meanwhile, MPT Mobility is stepping up the development of news apps and services and creating new products for motorists. LTO Chief J. Art Tugade tells Congress it plans to completely replace its legacy IT systems with a land transport management system. In a congressional hearing, Tugade said several LTMS modules are still being completed, but the LTO was making sure full utilization would be undertaken by August of 2023. The plan calls for all transactional data from the old system of Stratcom to be migrated to the Department of Information and Communications Technology and then transferred to the LTO's current provider, Dermalog. The Department of Transportation held groundbreaking ceremonies for the construction of the Camp Aguinaldo segment of the Metro Manila subway project. Transportation Secretary Bautista said construction of the Camp Aguinaldo station is slated for completion by the third quarter of 2023. The construction of Camp Aguinaldo Station is part of Contract Package 3 of the Metro Subway Project funded by the Japan International Cooperation Agency. Signaling railway projects would be given priority in 2023. The DOTR awarded a 37 billion peso contract to Japan's Mitsubishi Corporation for the electrical and mechanical systems and track works of the Malolos-Clark Railway Project and the North-South Railway Project. The awarding came after Mitsubishi joined Japanese companies in signing letters of intent on investment projects in the Philippines during President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s state visit to Japan. The DOTR bared plans to have the Philippine National Railway suspend commuter train services to facilitate the construction of the North-South Commuter Railway Project. The DOTR said the PNR will first suspend rail services between Governor Forbes Station in Malabon to Calamba in Laguna, and later the services between Alabang and Calamba. DOTR Undersecretary Cesar Chavez said suspension of PNR services would expedite the construction of the NSCR by around 8 months and save at least 15 billion pesos. The fate of the plan to further extend the LRT2 awaits the completion of a feasibility study on the LRT2 Kogyo Extension Project. The Light Rail Transit Authority is seeking to extend the LRT2 by at least 3 stations to the east and reduce the volume of passengers that builds up at the Antipolo Masinag Station, the current endpoint of the line. The LTFRB issued a memo to pressure individual operators of traditional jeepneys to join existing cooperatives in order to continue operating. Under LTFRB Memorandum Circular 2023-013, individual operators may continue to operate by virtue of a provisional authority, which is automatically extended until June 30, 2023, but only if they join an existing consolidated entity, which can either be a cooperative or corporation. The LTFRB said franchises of individual operators who fail to join a consolidated entity after June 30, 2023 shall be reverted to the state. The DOTR expressed support for a proposal to establish an integrated terminal exchange north of Manila. Megawide Construction Corporation is proposing to construct an integrated transport terminal as the northern counterpart to the Parañaque Integrated Terminal Exchange or PITX, the southern endpoint of the EDSA busway loop. Megawide plans to submit an unsolicited proposal to construct an ITX in Monumento. Makati authorities and developers decided not to proceed with a plan to remove protected bike lanes on Ayala and replace them with what they called sharos or shared lanes. This followed a series of conversations with cycling and road safety advocates during which it was agreed to have Ayala Avenue remain a safe, convenient, and inclusive transport corridor for all road users, including pedestrians, commuters, cyclists, and motorists. NLEX Corporation announced that it was investing 282.5 million pesos to upgrade its electronic toll collection and traffic management systems at the North Luzon Expressway and the Subic-Clark-Tarlac Expressway. NLEX said it will upgrade its servers and install new radio frequency identification or RFID antennas and speed cameras at NLEX and SCTEX, following complaints from tollway users of problems at entry and exit gates. The Department of Public Works and Highways reported the acquisition of the right-of-way for the Aguinaldo section of the Cavite-Laguna Expressway. The DPWH said it expects the Silang interchange of the Aguinaldo section of the CALAX would be completed by June. The report said the DPWH sees the delivery of the remaining right-of-way acquisitions for the entire length of the CALAX within the year.
The first quarter of the year that was a mix of the negative and the positive. Commuters lost libreng sakay benefits, became anxious over looming fare hikes, got reprieve. Motorists faced looming toll hikes and got reprieve. Government prioritized and pursued programs and implemented policies that would benefit both commuters and motorists, but mostly in the long run. What happened in the next 3 months? Please stay with us and find out after this break.
Welcome back to our year-end special on the year that was in motoring. The first 3 months of the year was a mixed bag of news that either benefited or disadvantaged commuters, motorists, or transport operators. The next 3 months can be said to be a lot more of the same, including private sector initiatives that bode well for motoring or commuting, either in the short or long term.
The start of the second quarter finds transport operators confused over a fare rollback ordered by the DOTR. In approving the rollback of fares, the DOTR said it was part of a fare discount program that was to replace the Libreng Sakay program on the EDSA carousel and using the 2.1 billion peso funding allocated for the service contracting program for this year. Transport groups expressed concern over the mechanisms or processes for how PUV operators would be compensated for giving the discounts mandated by the government. The Supreme Court ruled as constitutional a joint order issued by the LTO, the DOTC, and the LTFRB imposing stiff penalties on operators and drivers of so-called colorum public utility vehicles or those operating without franchises, those operating out of line, and other violation of certificate of public convenience. Transport groups had earlier filed petitions in the courts questioning the constitutionality of the DOTC, LTO, and LTFRB orders imposing harsh penalties. The LTFRB issued special permits for 712 bus units to augment the number of buses going from Metro Manila to the provinces and vice versa in time for the Holy Week. Valid from March 31 to April 17, the special permits were meant to ensure enough buses to meet the expected surge in demand for public transport during the Holy Week. Bawal ang bastos signs began to be seen posted inside the PUVs. This followed the LTFRB issuing a memorandum order aimed at curbing sexual and other forms of harassment in public utility vehicles. PUV operators, drivers, conductors, or employees face fines from 5,000 to 15,000 pesos and suspension of the involved vehicle from 6 months to a year, and even cancellation of certificates of public convenience if found to have committed any act of sexual harassment. Operators who fail to prevent, act on, or report the sexual harassment of passengers in their PUVs also face fines and penalties. The DOTR received and began considering 2 unsolicited proposals to add more LRT lines to Metro Manila. One calls for the construction of an elevated railway system from EDSA in Balintawak to San Jose del Monte in Bulacan, passing through Novaliches and Caloocan City with a link to the LRT-1. Another seeks the establishment of an elevated light rail service from NAIA Terminal 3 in Pasay City to Commonwealth Avenue in Quezon City, mostly running along C5. The LTO resorted to issuing temporary paper licenses for those renewing licenses at district, branch, or satellite offices that ran out of plastic cards. The DOTR blamed the LTO, saying it failed to undertake early procurement activities in compliance with existing rules. Tugade laid the blame on the DOTR, which he said ordered the LTO to basically stop all procurement activities, which would now be conducted by the DOTR Central. San Miguel Corporation partnered with the Quezon City government to construct wider sidewalks and bike lanes underneath the elevated turn-back guideway for the MRT-7 to be built along West Avenue near its North EDSA station. The 1-kilometer portion of West Avenue between Examiner Street and EDSA would be redesigned to create a wider pedestrian walkway and bicycle lane. Following ridicule and complaints over the paper licenses, the LTO launched an electronic version of driver's license. LTO Chief J. Art Tugade said the digital licenses would also serve as an alternative for plastic driver's license cards. Tugade told reporters that motorists can present the digital licenses to law enforcement officers when apprehended for violating traffic regulations. He said the LTO worked with the Department of Information and Communications Technology to develop digital driver's licenses. The LTFRB said it was hoping 80 to 90% of jeepney drivers and operators comply with the requirement of consolidating with existing cooperatives or corporations to participate in the PUV modernization program. LTFRB chairman revealed this while Piston and Manibelo continued to oppose consolidation, saying this would only result in drivers incurring huge debts which they can't hope to repay. The squabble between the DOTR and LTO ends with the resignation of Jose Art Tugade as LTO chief. In announcing his resignation, Tugade said both he and the Transportation Secretary Bautista shared the same objective of succeeding in serving the public, but their methods to achieve success differed. The Court of Appeals denied a motion for reconsideration filed by the Mandaluyong government seeking to overturn a CA ruling declaring as unconstitutional ordinances that set restrictions on riding in tandem in the city. The ordinances sought to prohibit motorcyclists from riding in tandem on streets of Mandaluyong if the back rider is male and not a relative of the front rider. The ordinances were meant to curb criminal activities by riding in tandem perpetrators. The first vintage car registered under the new RA 11698 or the Vintage Vehicle Regulations Act received its license plates. Outgoing LTO Chief Tugade oversaw the handover ceremony to the owner of the vintage vehicle. Tugade said the LTO aimed to register roadworthy vintage vehicles while also encouraging owners to take greater responsibility for maintaining their vehicles in order to preserve their historical value. A congressman filed a bill seeking to raise the speed limit at tollways, and the Toll Regulatory Board expressed openness to discuss the issue. First District Representative Ronald Singson filed House Bill 408 seeking, among other things, to raise the maximum speed limits on expressways to 120 kilometers per hour for buses, trucks, and other large vehicles, and 140 kilometers per hour for other vehicles like cars and SUVs. Construction is set to begin for the 147.26-kilometer north-south commuter railway project from Clark in Pampanga to Metro Manila and Calamba City in Laguna. Philippine National Railways Chairman Michael Ted Macapagal said Asciona DMCI and Leighton First Balfour were awarded the contracts to construct elevated rails for commuters and ground-level rails for freight. 3 depots and 35 stations will be built as part of the north-south commuter railway. LRT1 private operator Light Rail Manila Corporation partnered with a banking app Maya to implement a QR ticketing system using the Ikot Manila app phone app. Maya enables the Ikot Manila app to accept digital payments from Maya, other e-wallets, banks, credit, debit, prepaid card, and soon QRPH. Commuters can now use their phones to purchase single journey LRT1 QR tickets for scanning upon entry at stations. By the end of the second quarter of 2023, the DOT are expected to solve the problem of the shortage in plastic cards for licenses. DOTR Secretary Bautista said the agency expected to procure at least 500,000 plastic cards for licenses by July. Meanwhile, the LTO extended the validity of driver's licenses that would have expired beginning April 24 until October 21 to await procurement of plastic cards for licenses. The Light Rail Manila Corporation, operator of LRT1, embarked on a safety education program dubbed Kaligtas Sakay, aimed at making riding trains safe for the blind and deaf. The Kaligtas Sakay program was implemented in partnership with the Marcela Marcelo Elementary School, the Philippine National School for the Blind, and Philippine School for the Deaf. Luerni Desales, LRMC Head of Health, Safety, Environment, and Quality, said the program aimed to share best-in-class safety programs being implemented at the LRT1 depot and stations. Construction started on Phase 1 of the Cebu Bus Rapid Transit System, which will see 13.8-kilometer bus service from South Road Properties through Mambaling to the IT Park. The buses will have dedicated lanes and stops on the centermost lanes of the streets going in both directions. Even before it's completed and operational, Cebu councilors are already proposing improvements, including the use of electric buses. Another proposed using trams instead of buses. The Land Transportation Office formalized guidelines for owners and distributors or sellers of motor vehicles to use improvised and temporary license plates until such time official license plates are issued for registered vehicles. LTO Memorandum Circular number JMT 2023-2400 sets guidelines for the use of temporary and improvised plates. However, the vehicle owner must apply for and secure an authority or permit to use improvised plates from the concerned LTO district or extension office.
What stood out in the second quarter of 2023 was the intramurals among the president's people in government over how to solve problems that should not have become problems at all, and how this spawned more problems and complaints against people in government. Please stay with us as we continue our review of the year that was in motoring after we return after this break.
Welcome back to our year-end special on the year that was in motoring. Much of the news during the third quarter was all about updates on railway projects being prioritized by initiatives of private expressway operators to better serve motorists by extending and linking tollways. This was happening even as commuters and motorists began suffering from worsening congestion.
DILG Secretary Benjamin Ben-Hur Abalos Jr. urged cities and municipalities nationwide to establish protected bike lanes to help ease traffic congestion and promote sustainable mobility. Abalos said the LGUs can emulate best practices of cities that have successfully established bike lanes such as Iloilo City, Quezon City, and Mandaue City. The 3 cities were recipients of awards handed out during the National Bike Day Awards, knowledge sharing webinar organized by the Interagency Technical Working Group on Active Transport led by the DOTR. NLEX Corporation President and General Manager Jose Luigi L. Bautista revealed that the España to Santa Mesa segment of the connector road would be substantially completed in July and be open to motorists 1 month later. Bautista also revealed that NLEX was also asking the Toll Regulatory Board to approve the toll matrix for the connector road and be allowed to begin charging 85 pesos in toll on Class 1 vehicles for use of the 5-kilometer segment from the C3 road in Caloocan to España by July. Motorists were already using the C3 España segment of the connector road for free. The DOTR said it has already issued a notice to proceed to the winning bidder, Banner Plastic Card Incorporated, for the contract to supply plastic cards. It expected 1 million plastic cards to be delivered in the next 2 months. DOTR Undersecretary for Administration and Finance Kim De Leon asserted that the bidding process did not favor anyone and that the post-disqualification of one of the bidders was done in accordance to the law. The Philippine National Railways announced the closure of commuter services between Alabang in Muntinlupa and Calamba in Laguna beginning the middle of July and all other commuter train services by the end of December. To help commuters affected by the stoppage of PNR services in the route, the LTFRB is opening new routes for modern PUVs and buses. The DOTR invited members of the media to inspect progress of the tunneling work for the Metro Manila subway project at the Valenzuela Depot and station. During the inspection, the DOTR said it is aiming to complete construction of the Metro Manila subway project by 2028 and begin operations in 2029. The inspection showed more than 200 meters of the southbound tunnel for the subway have been completed beginning at the Valenzuela Depot. The Metropolitan Manila Development Authority aired plans to begin equipping body cameras to traffic enforcers assigned to major thoroughfares. The MMDA said stakeholders support the plan to employ body-worn cameras for traffic management and enforcement operations to help promote transparency in carrying out apprehensions of traffic violators. The MMDA drafted rules on the use of body-worn cameras for traffic enforcers and procedures when flagging down motorists. The Metropolitan Manila Development Authority inaugurated the new Communications and Command Center at its head office in Pasig City. The new CCC houses state-of-the-art facilities that include the Operations Center, Data Center, Situation Room, Viewing Room, Media Room, and Power Room. The CCC acts as the nerve center for MMDA's network of high-definition closed-circuit television cameras, the Intelligent Traffic Signalization System, and Hytera Radio Smart Dispatch System with built-in GPS. The Metropolitan Manila Development Authority warned it would begin apprehending and fining motorcycle riders sheltering under flyovers and footbridges during heavy rains. Riders who gather underneath flyovers and block traffic during rains will be cited for obstruction and fined 500 pesos, said MMDA Chairman Artes. The LTO issued guidelines for the issuance, recognition, and use of electronic driver's licenses, or EDL. The EDL can serve as a valid authority, identification, and alternative form of authorization to operate a motor vehicle. Holders of valid driver's licenses can access their EDL by creating an account on the Land Transportation Management System portal. But the EDL can only be verified by LTO officers and deputized agents if they can witness the license holder accessing the EDL through registered accounts through the LTMS portal and then scanning its QR code or barcode using their own handheld devices. The Light Rail Transit Line 1 began deploying the 4th-generation light rail vehicles acquired from Mexico and Spain as part of the overall plan to modernize and extend the commuter train service to Cavite. After the first train set went on a commercial run, another would be added to the LRT1 main line every week until all 30 modern train sets ordered at the cost of 12.8 billion pesos are deployed. President Bongbong Marcos cited the progress on projects aimed at bringing our mass transport system up to world-class standards in his State of the Nation address. He mentioned the big-ticket rail projects to address traffic congestion through increased passenger and cargo capacity, including the North-South Commuter Railway, the Light Rail Transit Line 1 Cavite Extension, the Metro Manila Subway Project, the Metro Rail Transit Line 7, the Cebu Bus Rapid Transit, the Davao High Priority Bus Project. Amid mounting complaints from motorists, the LTO reminded owners that installing bright and blinding tail lights are illegal. The Land Transportation and Traffic Code states that red lights should be used in the rear to indicate that the brakes are being applied, and yellow or orange for turn signals. White light should only be used in the rear to indicate the vehicle is moving in reverse or to illuminate the license plates of the car. The LTO warned that those caught using illegal lights and accessories will be fined 5,000 pesos. The Department of Transportation began looking at options for turning over management, maintenance, and operations of the MRT-3 to a new private entity. The Metro Rail Transit Corporation, or MRTC, will be turning over the MRT-3 to the government by 2025 under its Build, Operate, Transfer agreement. This early, the DOTR is considering building the MRT-3 and the LRT-2 in one privatization package, according to Transportation Undersecretary Cesar Chavez. The Philippine National Railways resumed the Naga-Ligao train service beginning on July 31. Suspended for 6 years, the commuter train service departs from Ligao Station in Albay Province at 5:30 a.m. to Naga Station in Camarines Sur, with stops at Pili, Baao, Iriga, Bato, Matacon, Pulangi, and Oas. The return trip departs Naga to Ligao at 5:30 p.m. Transport groups one of Pasang Mazda, Altodap, Piston, Acto, Fedjadap, Stop and Go, El Top, and UV Express or Mighty One proposed to implement a rush hour surcharge. Under the proposal, a surcharge will be added to the fare during the so-called rush hours from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. and from 5:30 a.m. to 8 a.m. every day. LTFRB Chairman Teofilo Guadis III soon rejected the proposal of transportation groups for a 1 peso surge fee during rush hours. Guadis added that a new petition for a 2 peso increase in fares for various modes of PUVs filed by transport groups should void the surge fee proposal. The DPWH aired plans to raise by 0.7 meters the Tulaok Bridge that spans across the North Luzon Expressway in San Simon, Pampanga. Raising the bridge will allow the NLEX to also raise the level of the portion of the expressway underneath the bridge in San Simon that is prone to flooding in heavy rains. The DPWH recommended the solution after motorists suffered hours-long traffic along the segment of NLEX that got flooded by heavy rains for a number of days. Another subsection of the Calax or Cavite-Laguna Expressway was opened to motorists in September, providing more convenient and faster access to Silang and Tagaytay. With the opening of the new subsection and interchange, Calax expects to cater an additional 5,000 daily motorists. The report on motorcycle taxis presented by the Technical Working Group to the House of Representatives Committee on Transportation is seen to help fast-track passage of the bill legitimizing their operations. The DOTR-led study showed that the motorcycle taxi is a safe, efficient, and affordable mode of public transport, which is getting more popular among commuters. One Rider Party List Representative Rog Gutierrez said that the motorcycle taxi bill should be enacted into law as soon as possible. The LTFRB issued Memorandum Circular 23027 lifting the prohibition on the sale and transfer of certificates of public convenience or CPCs. In 2016, the LTFRB ordered a stop to the sale and transfer of CPCs to solve the problem of buy and sell operators who abused and hijacked the franchising process, trafficking in CPCs or franchises at a huge profit. In lifting the prohibition, the LTFRB set new guidelines for the transfer of CPCs that provide safeguards and parameters to deter the fraudulent scheme. LRT-2 is considering adding 3 more stations and extending the line farther into Antipolo. This extension is the subject of a feasibility study. Light Rail Transit Authority Administrator Hernando T. Cabrera said the Kogyo extension study will be submitted to the National Economic and Development Authority. At the same time, Cabrera revealed that funding is still being secured for the westward extension of the LRT-2 towards Pier 4. The westward extension also calls for adding 3 more stations at Tutuban, Divisoria, and Pier 4. NLEX Corporation began fast-tracking the elevation of the portion of the North Luzon Expressway in San Simon that easily floods during heavy rains, causing monstrous traffic jams in the tollway. At the same time, the NLEX asked the Department of Public Works and Highways to raise the Tulaok overpass so it can elevate the problematic portions of the NLEX in San Simon. Cavitex Infrastructure Corporation installed the girders for the Segment 2R1 interchange of the Cavitex C5 link. The work necessitated the implementation of a counterflow scheme at the Parañaque toll plaza of the Cavitex for the safety of motorists. The R1 interchange represents a crucial 1.9-kilometer segment, or Segment 2 of Cavitex C5 link project, which it expects to complete by first quarter of 2024.
The third quarter of the year saw commuters and motorists seemingly resigned to suffer congestion in the present. Authorities seemed more comfortable at implementing solutions for modernizing transport for the future while touting success at solving self-created problems for the past and present. Please stay with us while we take another break. We return with a look at events, occurrences, and issues concerning motoring, motorists, and commuters in the final quarter of 2023.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us as we review the final 3 months of a full year of the new normal, which looks more of like the old normal, with its problems of traffic congestion, inefficient public transport, and authorities seemingly always playing catch-up at solving them.
The LTO again extended the validity of driver's licenses that expired from April 24, 2023, onwards for a few more months or until April 2, 2024. The extension was issued after a Quezon City court issued a temporary restraining order against the delivery of plastic cards used for the issuance of licenses. The court acted on a petition seeking for a TRO filed by All Card Incorporated, which had been disqualified from bidding for the contract to supply the LTO with plastic cards for licenses. LTFRB Chairman Teofilo Guadez revealed that jeepney fares would be increased in November. Guadez said the LTFRB would consult with the National Economic and Development Authority on how much of a fare increase to implement. LTFRB wants to know how a fare increase would affect the economy while looking out for the welfare of jeepney drivers and operators reeling from the spiraling cost of fuel. Metro Pacific Investments Corporation, in collaboration with Japan's Sumitomo Corporation, submitted another unsolicited proposal to take over their operations and maintenance of the Metro Rail Transit Line 3 system. The DOTR said the MPIC proposal would be evaluated in accordance with the guidelines for unsolicited public-private partnerships. Cavitex Infrastructure Corporation announced the successful installation of the girder for the Cavitex C5 Link R1 interchange located near the Cavitex Parañaque toll plaza. The CIC said this will help fast-track the establishment of a direct link from Cavitex R1, also known as the Coastal Road, to Sucat Road in Parañaque that will reduce travel times by 10 minutes. The DOTR and the LTFRB asserted that the December 31, 2023 deadline is final for jeepney drivers and operators with individual franchises to consolidate into a cooperative or with an existing corporation. As a member of a cooperative or a corporation, jeepney operators and drivers can more easily avail themselves of incentives and loan packages to modernize their units and fleets to comply with modern jeepney standards. A member of the family that pioneered traditional jeepney manufacturing is venturing into e-jeepneys. Elmer Francisco started the Elmer Francisco Motors Corporation, or EFMC, which entered into an agreement with Trembo ELVBV, a subsidiary of Vivo Power International PLC, to develop e-jeepneys. According to reports, EFMC and Tembo have secured their first orders and have started to work to fulfill the deliveries and prepare for the electrification of an additional 37,000 jeepneys. LTO Chief Vigor Mendoza II announced that buyers of brand new cars can now expect to get their license plates within 7 to 10 days upon registration. Mendoza said the LTO plate making facility has ramped up production to around 32,000 license plates per day using weight machines. He expressed confidence that the LTO plate making facility would see an end to the backlog in the issuance of license plates, including the replacement plates that car owners have already paid for. Two westbound lanes of the 5.26 billion peso Arterial Road Bypass Project, or ARBP, in San Jose, Bulacan were open to motorists. The newly opened lanes stretch for 7.64 kilometers and include a 36.86 meter single-span bridge and a 318-meter flyover. The opened widened portion of the bypass road now stretches 9.97 kilometers, with the DPWH targeting to finish widening the remaining 12.5 kilometers by the first half of 2024. President Bongbong Marcos encouraged automotive companies to manufacture electric vehicles in the Philippines during the launch of Dongfeng Motor EVs. The president said the country offers fiscal incentives including income tax holidays, duty exemption of capital equipment, raw materials, and spare parts used in electric vehicles. He pointed out the government is pushing for the gradual shift to electric vehicles for public transportation through the PUV modernization program. LTO Chief Vigor Mendoza II directed regional offices to fast-track the transition to online transactions and use the LTO's online portal, the Land Transportation Management System, for all vehicle registration and license application transactions. Once the process for application and renewal of driver's licenses, as well as registration and renewal of registration of motorized vehicles are fully online, the agency will rid itself of fixers who offer to process LTO applications for a fee, he said. The DOTR assured commuters who have learned to depend on the EDSA busway that it would shoulder the operations and maintenance of the EDSA busway until it is turned over to the private sector. Transportation Undersecretary Timothy John Batan said the DOTR expects the privatization process to last at least 2 years. The DOTR expects the contracted consultant, Deloitte, to submit its feasibility study on the EDSA busway privatization in the first semester of 2024. Land Transportation Office Chief Vigor Mendoza II bared plans for the LTO to fully take over its entire IT network, including the Land Transportation Management System. Mendoza said that the takeover would expedite all the technical issues raised by the Commission on Audit and the Department of Information and Communications Technology, or DICT, with the LTMS under Dermalog. Mendoza said the government would save more money and could better maintain the IT network and system with a full takeover. The LTFRB reminded anew PUV operators about the December 31, 2023 deadline for consolidation, warning that this will also be a requirement for renewal of vehicle registration at the LTO. It pointed out that technically PUVs won't be able to ply their routes without renewing their LTO registration. LTFRB Chief Guadis assured drivers and operators of traditional jeepneys that they can continue plying their routes once they begin the process of filing for compliance with a mandated consolidation before the year-end deadline. He added that it is not true that PUV operators will have to replace old traditional jeepneys with modern jeepneys within 3 to 9 months following consolidation. They would be given at most 27 months to replace aging units. LTFRB Chairman Teofilo Guadis III assured the Senate that his agency will continue to assist drivers and operators of jeepneys in modernizing their operations even after the year-end deadline to consolidate. Asserting that the December deadline is not for a phase-out of traditional jeepneys, Guadis told senators consolidation is meant to encourage drivers to come together in the pursuit of modernization. MPT South Management Corporation, a subsidiary of Metro Pacific Tollways Corporation, announced that it was investing 12 billion pesos over the next 2 years to finish projects that will further extend and seamlessly connect its various tollways. A huge portion of the 12 billion will go towards completing the Cavite-Laguna Expressway project, a 4-lane expressway that extends from Tirona Highway Kawit in Cavite to the Greenfield property in Biñan, Laguna. The Land Transportation Office Management Information Division, or LTO-MID, began preparations to transition all LTO information technology system and processes to the Land Transport Management System to provide better services nationwide. The LTO-MID said a full transition and utilization of the LTMS would enable the agency to control information technology systems and secure independence from private IT system suppliers.
That covers the final 3 months of a busy and eventful 2023. Please stay with us as we wrap up this year and special when we return after this break.
Welcome back to our year-end special on Dear to Us in Motoring. We're finding it difficult to sum up 2023 in a single word or phrase. A lot of events, controversies, concerns happened or surfaced. Many are quite positive, some negative. The positive, authorities continue to prioritize railways as a major pillar of mass transport.
Tollway operators continue to make motoring to the provinces more convenient, although at some cost to motorists. Active transport, the use of bikes, is still being encouraged. The DOTR, the LTO, the LTFRB, and the MMDA are actively going digital for efficiency and transparency in fulfilling their functions and services to the public. Government appears to be steadfast in pursuing the PUV modernization program, even in the face of opposition from operators of traditional jeepneys. The negative? Traffic congestion is back with a vengeance. On the skyway that promised faster travel in Metro Manila, at ground level where road rage incidents happen daily. And congestion is not only a problem in Metro Manila, this is happening in all cities. Commuting is harder and more expensive, and more often than not, unsafe. Do the positives outweigh the negatives in 2023? Another tough question to answer.
Still, we'd like to end the year with a wish and prayer for a new year of more efficient, safer, and comfortable commute. On behalf of all of us here in Motoring Today and Sunshine Television, I'm Ray Louie Gamboa.
And I'm Tin Gamboa. We wish you all a blessed holidays. Happy
Happy motoring.
motoring!